Another school day, and it's time for your favorite class, gym. But it's raining, so the class can't go outside. Instead, the teacher announces that the class will be playing one of three possible games: basketball, volleyball, or dodgeball. In order to be fair, the class will decide which game to play by voting. The teacher passes out slips of paper and asks each student to record their preferences in order. For example, if a student's preference is basketball, dodgeball, and lastly volleyball, they should write B greater than D greater than V. Soon, all the votes are tallied. The teacher decides to go with the obvious method called first past the post. He tallies up the students' first choices, if they could only choose one, and finds that volleyball is the winner. But some students aren't too happy about this. Alex says, "I really don't want to play volleyball, but would be happy to play either basketball or dodgeball." The teacher wonders if it would be more fair if he tried a different system called anti-plurality voting. Instead of only counting the first vote, he decides to give 1 point to both the first and second choice, then see which game gets the most votes. This is called anti-plurality voting because it's equivalent to voting against one's last choice. Using this voting method, dodgeball wins. But some students are still unsatisfied. Maria thinks, "Volleyball is by far my favorite, dodgeball is okay, and I really don't like basketball." This leads one to consider yet another system, the Borda count. Using this system, a student's first choice gets 2 points, second choice gets 1 point, and third place gets 0. The teacher is game to try the Borda count and finds out that now basketball wins. What a mess! 3 different systems produce 3 different results. Eventually, the teacher gives up and decides to play indoor soccer. These voting methods aren't limited to gym class choices. They come up in all kinds of situations, like the 1998 election for the governor of Minnesota. There were 3 candidates: Norm Coleman, a Republican, Skip Humphrey, a Democrat, and Jesse Ventura, an inexperienced independent and a professional wrestler. The state used first past the post system, the system where the candidate with the most votes wins. This turned out to be Ventura, even though he wasn't actually the preferred candidate. In what sense? Exit polls showed that, in a race between any pair of the 3 candidates, Ventura would have lost and Coleman should have won. If voters had ranked their preferences, Ventura would have been third most of the time and would have lost if either anti-plurality voting or the Borda count had been used. Researchers have been studying voting systems for decades. One surprising result is called Arrow's impossibility theorem. This theorem, which helped win Kenneth Arrow the Nobel Prize in Economics in 1972, starts by asking that a voting system should satisfy a few reasonable assumptions. First, no dictators. The outcome is not simply the wish of one person. Second, Pareto efficiency. If every voter prefers candidate A to candidate B, then the outcome should have A over B. And third, independence of irrelevant alternatives. If voters change their preferences between candidates other than A and B, this should not affect the outcome between A and B. Arrow's theorem claims that no voting method with 3 or more candidates can satisfy all of these conditions. Before you start worrying, this does not mean the end of democracy, but it does mean that we need to be careful with the democratic process. Researchers are still exploring questions about the fairness of voting systems. Can you think of a system that's fairer than the ones presented here? If so, be sure to leave a comment below. Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video. We'd like to thank Grinnell College for their support. Watch some of these other videos and subscribe. And be sure to vote.